is I kind of see myself in you, like, 12 years ago when I was starting out, and I'm, really, really excited about the prospects for you, Greta. But I'm just gonna give a short intro, and then she's gonna take over, and we'll talk about her. So Greta Morina, she is, great time to open up your own shop and do immigration law. She's an immigration attorney who's got a lot of experience handling immigration matters, and I think you are going to be a great resource here for our Albanian-American, Bosnian-American, and the immigration community in the St. Louis area with your experience. But I don't want to take up, too much of your introduction. So, Greta, tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Well, so like he said, I am Albanian, Kosovo Albanian. I came to the United States as a refugee at the age of 5. I don't know if any of you have heard, but there was a big war in that region, in Kosovo, Albania, all that, the Balkan region as it's known. And, my family had no choice but to leave our home. We had no home there, so we decided to come to the United States. And honestly, ever since I came to the United States, the first thing I wanted to be was an attorney. And a lot of people ask me all the time, so why an attorney? And well, when we were going through the process of, coming here as refugees, I kind of was really interested in, after a few years later, I was like, whoa, how did we get here? What was the process like? And so it kind of got me to thinking, it seems like something that I should be doing for other people. And that's kind of what led me to go to law school and become an attorney. So
that's kind of the same story that, I went through. Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't know that. But so where'd you go to law school at?
University of Missouri in Kansas City.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a good program. I did a couple of internships there, working one with ICE. So I did kind of the prosecutorial stuff with regards to immigration. That was very interesting. I got to be in court a lot. I got to see how the process is played out from the government's perspective and what they're expecting and what they're arguing. So that was an interesting thing to learn. And then also I practiced with a solo immigration attorney, and I did all the hands-on work for him. I filed all the applications. I met hands-on with the clients. And I really enjoyed that. Honestly, that was the one thing that I really liked and about immigration law in general, is that I get to work with people every day.
Tell our folks what ICE basically means. It's not the cool stuff that you think it is.
Well, so I did the prosecutorial stuff for ICE. So I didn't do the knocking on the doors of people and dragging them out, like the police officers that do that or the ICE officers that do that. I was more behind the scenes. Once you do get into ICE custody, we get called on, we get your information. We looked at your cases and decided whether we pursue it or not. And unfortunately, with the current administration, we had to pursue every case that came across our desk. So when I was working with the lead counsel on these matters, it would be you're getting this case and this person committed some crime, and they came here, 1, illegally, and 2, they also committed a crime. So we had to prosecute them and kind of deport them. That was our main goal, was basically to send people back if they had no legal reason or remedy to be here. So.
Immigration law on the prosecutorial side, sometimes it's just gut-wrenching, isn't it?
Yes. I mean, we had kids that we were prosecuting, kids, who were brought here by their parents, who had no idea why they were even here to begin with, who some even grew up here, had their lives here, went to school, went to college, and then, made a mistake driving down the street and got pulled over. And then they were discovered to be, here, not with the correct documentation. And, being an immigrant myself, being across from that person, especially when they didn't have an attorney. And the reason they didn't have an attorney is because their case was really hard to argue. And so an attorney is going to sit there and say, here's your case. This is what you can do, and this is what you can't do. And there's more you can't than there is you can. And so, after being in that room with them, in that court with them, and hearing them defend themselves, not really knowing what they're doing, giving their life story, trying to make a plea to this judge, it gets to you too, as a person. It was really hard. And then, I realized those are the people that need help, right? One, I wouldn't even say a kid, he's an adult, a 21-year-old went to college, did everything right, no issues in the United States, got pulled over for reckless driving. He was Hispanic, of the darker skin tone, right? And then he got arrested for driving without a license.
He gets deported to a country he's never been to, doesn't have any connections to.
Exactly, and we actually ended up deporting him. And luckily for him, he had the option of voluntary departure, so he could come back. If he marries someone or finds a legal way to come back, he could. Good for him, but there's a lot of people that don't know that you can, take voluntary departure so you can come back. So in these proceedings, if you do get deported, you should always choose to leave voluntarily. You should never pursue a case. If you know you're going to lose it, choose the voluntary departure route, because you can come back into the United States with legal measures after. If you choose to pursue a case that you know you're going to lose, or that your attorney says, it's a lost cause, you risk the ability to have voluntary departure. So what happens is that you get deported, and then you have a ban on when you can come into the United States. And not many people know that. So listen to your attorney always. If they say it's a tough case, it's a tough case. We try to give our clients as much information as possible before they make any decision. But once we're in court and the judge or the prosecutor starts asking certain questions, we kind of can see which way it's going to go. And then if we see that it's, you should definitely take voluntary departure, that's what you should do.
Now you are on this side of the aisle and you are helping immigrants obtain, legal permanent status, whatever, adjustment of status. Yeah. I guess that's the term. And I know I've talked to other immigration lawyers, and their biggest competitors are never immigration lawyers themselves. It's the people trying to do it themselves.
Yes.
And let's talk a little bit about that. Why is that the case?
So I guess what it is people can Google anything nowadays. And so if they ever need an immigration benefit, they Google whatever visa they think they need. So they say, okay, I need to bring my fiance to the United States. What do I need? And, USCIS does a very good job at explaining exactly what you need and how you need it and how much it's going to cost and where you have to submit it and how they want it submitted. But the thing is, you could miss something because you don't know that that's required, right? It's not every single document is listed on there. And then not only that, but documents may be listed on there, but you might not have the right one that you think, they could say you need a birth certificate. Well, you might have gone to some in your country that provided you with this birth certificate, but it might not be the one that USCIS actually holds as, true and factual, and this is the real birth certificate. And I've had a few people come and ask me about that because they have done their process by themselves, and then they get a notice for further evidence. And basically what that means is you have to provide more evidence because you haven't proven your case. And so what happens there is, one, it causes a bump in the road, so it slows down your process. And two, now you have to reach out back to whoever you're trying to bring to the United States, and you have to reach out to them and say, hey, I need this document. Do you know how to get it? And 9 out of 10 times they don't know how to get it. And so the benefit of having an immigration attorney is I know how to do the research to figure out how to get the appropriate document. And so with one of these clients that I had, she messaged me and said, this birth certificate was denied, or this person doesn't have a birth certificate with his full name on there. So some birth certificates only have the person's first name, and there's no last name, so they can't so USCIS cannot verify that, this person is the person born because they don't have a last name on there. But there are certain agencies within the government that would have your full name on the birth certificate. You just have to find the agency that does that. And so what happened is I did some research on my own, because I knew how to look for these things. And I found out that this was in Egypt, that I found out that there was an agency that specifically does birth certificates for immigration purposes to the United States. And so they give you the, required documentation perfectly what USCIS is looking for with translation and everything included, and you just submit that. So these are some things that, the common person doesn't know. And then my favorite situation is, like I said, people start the process, and then there's a bump in the road, right? Of course. And then that's when they decide to hire an attorney. And of course you can do that. You can hire an immigration attorney at any point you want. I highly suggest doing it right away. Don't wait, to try and figure this situation out by yourself. If you cannot find an answer within a week, I highly suggest, after you've heard back from USCIS and they're asking for more information or they're asking for something additional, I say hire an attorney within the week, only because, one, it speeds up your process tremendously, because the attorney's been through this, right? So they know exactly what the USCIS is asking for. They probably already have documents in handy, templates, letters, what have you, that they can just streamline right away and just send it out to USCIS. With a little bit of help from you. You have to explain their story, but that's the issue as well when you hire an attorney in the middle of your process, is now you're spending hours trying to explain to the attorney what all you've done, how you've done it, what all you received from USCIS. And it's just a burden, not on just the attorney, but also on you, because, the attorney has to play catch up on your case. And that's always an issue. So I highly, highly recommend hiring an attorney, even at the thought of you wanting to pursue any immigration benefit. And that's not because I am an immigration attorney and I want your business. It's because, one, I've been through the process multiple times by myself. And I know how complicated things can get, especially if you have multiple family members you're trying to bring over. Because each person has to file their own application. Each person has to provide their own documentation. And then you have to connect each person to the other person, and it's just a lot of proving, and a lot of mistakes can happen in that entire process.
Very complicated process. Yeah. So the bottom line here is, yes, while you can try to do it yourself, since the process is so complicated, mistakes are very, very common. And once a mistake happens, it just takes forever to fix that mistake. So the bottom line, again, if you need to adjust your status, if you've got an immigration question even, just don't Google it, okay? Yeah. Go talk to an immigration lawyer, and they'll tell you, you have to hire us, it'd be better for you to hire us, or they will put you in the right, direction and help you smooth it out. And what I've also seen a lot, and you have as well, because I know Albanian and Bosnians are very, very, very close, and that's great. Even our folks that have come here legally, and they wait to adjust their status from legal permanent resident to, naturalization, and then something happens, God forbid. Drunk driving, this and that. What do you tell to those people?
Well, first of all, if you've reached your date on when you could become a U.S. citizen, I say seize the day, right? Take advantage of it. Apply for citizenship. I know it's scary. I know you're thinking to yourself, but dang it, I got to study this test. And now it's actually been, if you apply after December 1st, if you applied before December 1st, you're still safe. You're in the clear. You do have the easier of the exams still available. I think it's a 2008 exam where you only have to know 100 questions and get 6 right out of the 10 that they asked you. But now, if you apply after December 1st, unfortunately, you have 128 questions that you have to memorize. So they've added 28 questions. And then you have to get 12 out of 20 questions right. So they ask you 20 questions now. I know all of this sounds scary, but hear me out. If you hire an attorney, such as myself, I will be studying along with you, right? I will be going to the interview with you. Unfortunately, I can't really answer the questions for you, but if the question's asked in a way that you don't understand it, I can try and clarify it for you. And then that's the benefit of having an immigration attorney. But also, like I said, I will be studying with you. I'll provide you everything you need to know. I'm on call. So whenever you can't understand a question or something, I will try to explain it to you the best way I can. And the best part about being Albanian is if I get an Albanian client, I can translate it for them. I can explain the question to them in Albanian, and then they can answer, we can kind of discuss what the history is behind this question, and then that's how it sticks. Because it's easy to just memorize, right? Because you do basically end up memorizing. But what I highly suggest is you sit there and you actually study the material. You learn the history of the United States. One, it's actually pretty fascinating. And two, it helps you answer the questions much quicker, and you're not struggling to think, oh, well, I remember this question, but I don't really remember the history behind it. But if you remember the history behind it, then you know the answer. So that's kind of the way I do it is I'm going to sit there and I'm going to lecture you. I'm going to teach you this material as your attorney so that we study it together. And you wouldn't get that by yourself. You'd probably just sit with your significant other or your brother or your sister, whoever's around you, and have them quizzing you all the time, which I'm not saying you can't do. But the thing is, you're just short-term memorying it, right? Like there's no deeper understanding of what you're doing out there. And now that the exams become harder, you're actually going to want to know the history because you're going to get a rapid fire, amount of questions. 20 questions is a lot of questions to answer, especially if you're just memorizing them. But 128 questions to memorize, that's a lot. But if you understand the history behind it, it's better. So don't be afraid. And then my second point is citizenship gives you so many benefits that just a green card does not. If you get in trouble with a green card, you do risk a lot more than you would if you were a U.S. citizen. You get arrested, might have legal issues for you, not only criminal issues, but also immigration issues, depending on your crime, right? Anywhere from drugs to murder, if if that's what you're being charged for, can, deport you. Not only that, but then also prevents you from gaining citizenship, because then when you apply for citizenship, you have to answer to these questions, and it's just going to cause more problems for you. However, if you do have these issues in your background, you should definitely hire an immigration attorney. You still could apply for citizenship. You still could get the benefit. It's just you're going to have to make the legal arguments. You're going to have a strong defense, because the United States doesn't want criminals to be U.S. citizens. You got to think about it from that perspective. But definitely, if you have no issues on any issues regarding immigration or criminal or any other issue like that, and you are due for a citizenship, for naturalization, please submit your paperwork as soon as possible. Hire an attorney, please, and get it done. Because one car accident, one slip on the road, one little thing can make you lose, the opportunity of a lifetime to become a U.S. citizen and gain all the benefits of a U.S. citizen. And another thing is, I don't know if you guys have been following immigration news, but there's this whole public charge issue. So, if you are an immigrant and you are taking food stamps or Obamacare or any government sponsored stuff, it will cause you to potentially not be able to adjust. And so you need to remember these things. But the thing is, you're not thinking about that. You're just thinking, I need to adjust status, or I need to become a U.S. citizen. And you're not thinking about all the legal consequences of every decision you've made thus far living in the United States. And so an attorney, when you come and tell them your story, can tell you, okay, so you've done this, you've had food stamps, you've had Medicaid, you've had all this. So now we're going to discuss how this is going to impact your process. Because you don't want to do everything, pay loads of money to USCIS, and then get denied within the first step because you didn't know that you can't apply yet because you have this in your background, or you didn't explain this, or you checked the wrong answer on your citizenship application or your adjustment of status application. So these are all things that you really, really do need an immigration attorney for.
And those fees are non-refundable, folks. As soon as you pay them, they're gone. So keep that in mind. 3 things underneath what you've just said. When it comes to fees, they just doubled for naturalization.
Yes.
Number 2, about the criminal matters, is that a lot of folks don't realize it, but there is a difference under immigration law about being, they can't really deport you, but you become inadmissible, which means that you've committed this crime, you go visit, grandma, grandpa in, Kosovo, Bosnia, and then you're like all happy coming back, and they're like at the airport, nah, you can't come back in here anymore. You're like, what? Well, this is why. Yep. So that's why it's important to adjust your status ASAP, because, and then the third one is this, legalization of marijuana business, okay? Because immigration law is federal, marijuana is still very, very illegal federally. Yet some states have got it legalized and you can legally smoke it. So just keep that in mind if you want to smoke that blunt down the road.
And speaking of marijuana, I've actually had a case where someone's spouse was not able to come into the United States because they had a marijuana conviction in Kosovo, for example. And so what happens is an immigration attorney it depends on what the charge is in Kosovo, not only what the charge is in the United States. So if the charge is over a year imprisonment in the country where you committed the offense, then you are inadmissible. You are not allowed to come to the United States. So you have to not only look at it from the American legal system, but also the legal system of which wherever you committed the crime. So people don't know that. And so they're thinking, oh, well, in Kosovo, it's only a 6-month sentence, yada, yada. Okay, but with the United States, it's probably a year sentence. Mm-hmm. And then in the United States, it might be a 6-month sentence, but in Kosovo, for example, it might be a year sentence. And either way, you're out of luck. So people don't know this, right? And they think, oh, well, I just got caught smoking a blunt. There was nothing. Well, how much was it? What is the law over there? What's the law over here regarding that? So they don't know any of this. And that's my one thing. You know, I get our cultures, our parents are, especially my generation of foreigners and immigrants here in the United States. I get it. The stress of like going back home and finding someone there, getting married to them there. We have that stress. And then to double the stress is, well, how do I bring them here? The costs, not only the costs, but okay, now I need to know their background. Have they committed anything that, would prevent them from coming to the United States? And these are awkward questions to be asking someone that you potentially might be marrying.
So Kosovo, guys in Kosovo, then Greta comes over there and, on the first date, if she asks you, have you ever been convicted of smoking a blunt? It's nothing against you. It's got to do with the, immigration process. Just keep that in mind, okay?
Have you been arrested? Nothing to do with you as a person. I just need to know before, the process is laid out.
That is funny. But along those lines, we now go into criminal attorneys a lot of times don't know the immigration consequences of those actions. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that, and I figured that out like a long time ago when I first started practicing. I was like, oh, I can't do this. Under criminal law, they will just tell you like, hey, you're not going to go to jail. You're not even going to book you. This is what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. But under immigration law, you could be deported for it. You know what I'm saying? So it's important, God forbid, you get into any trouble mm-hmm. and you're not a citizen. Not only do you need to consult with a criminal lawyer who may or may not know the consequences under the immigration system, but you also may have to talk to an immigration lawyer because the criminal deal that you may be able to work out within the criminal justice system may not be enough to keep you in the United States under the immigration system. Yep. So that there's an overlap there that a lot of people don't know.
Yeah, so like your prosecutor and your criminal defense attorney can sit across the table and come up with a plea bargain for you, and you're saying to yourself, great, 1 year probation sounds great. And then you apply for whatever immigration benefit and you have to explain this, and they're saying, oh, you don't get this benefit because, well, you pled guilty to this crime. And, if you don't have an immigration attorney while you're going through this criminal process, you're not going to know that this crime that you pled guilty to, even though it's good for you criminally, is actually extremely harmful when it comes to your immigration benefit. Mm-hmm. And so I get it. You're thinking to yourself, gosh, I got to pay for 2 attorneys now, your criminal defense attorney and your immigration attorney. But it's either that or not being in the United States. I mean, that's your choice. It's always your choice. And we're here to help whenever we can. But honestly, any crime that you've committed, and if you're an immigrant, if you're not a U.S. citizen, call an immigration attorney. And if your criminal defense attorney knows about this and doesn't suggest you call an immigration attorney, I'd also consider hiring a new criminal defense attorney. So,
yeah, I've seen that happen a lot as well. But here's the other part. Anytime you guys have a question, and that's one barrier that people don't call a lawyer. Initial consultations are free, mm-hmm. okay? So we'll give you half an hour of our time to sit down, listen to you, figure out if you really need an attorney mm-hmm. for your matter. And, we'll tell you, yes, you do, no, you don't, here's how much it's going to cost, and then you make that decision. but don't just go blindly into the situation and make it worse than it already is.
And the best part now is you can send me. So I have Facebook.
Mhm.
I have my personal phone number is on there, so you can text me if you have a question. I have email. So even if you don't want to call me or you don't feel comfortable with, giving me all your personal information right off the bat, you can call me, anonymously. You can text me anonymously, and I can guide you through what you need. Eventually, though, if you do need a benefit or if you do need to hire me, you need to sign a contract with me, only because it's for your benefit mostly, because that prevents me from going around telling people, oh my gosh, look, this illegal immigrant, as the term that is used, is doing this. But if you hire me as your attorney, I can't speak to anyone about anything you've said. It's safer for you. It's also safer for me, because any legal advice I give, I'm giving it to you as your attorney and not just some stranger that you don't really, you're just kind of hearing what you should do through them. But don't be afraid. I get it. Immigration is scary. It really is. And there's some people out there who, are not here with the proper documentation, who have family who are not here with the proper documentation. And I get it. You don't want to tell your story to anyone because you risk that coming out. You risk being, letting people know. But here's the thing. Like I said, if you hire an immigration attorney, it stays between you and that attorney, no matter what your situation is. And so, if you're struggling, if you're thinking, I want to be legally with legal status in the United States, but I'm afraid. I don't want to tell people that I'm not here legally. Find the attorney that is going to respect that is going to make sure that they can help you in whatever manner you need help with. And I know that takes a lot. And a quick phone call, a quick email, a quick consultation, can tell you exactly what this attorney is about. There are unfortunately attorneys in our field that.
The funny thing is, they're not really attorneys. There are those. What are they called? Notarios. Is that what they call them? Where they try to get people in and then promise them all these immigration benefits, and then they screw them over. Yeah. So be careful of those people.
Definitely be careful, because you are risking, one, a lot of money, and two, you're risking your life. Honestly, I mean, if you escaped whatever you escaped in your former country and you're afraid to go back, and you're thinking to yourself, well, can I claim asylum, for example, or do I have any other means of getting an immigration benefit, but I'm here already illegally, so what do I do? Who do I go to? Go to an immigration attorney. I promise you, everything you say to us, if you want to be our client, we are prohibited from telling anyone about your case, and it is kept between me and you, for example. But you need to talk to someone. You do not have to stay here legally. There is a means. There is a route. We can figure something out for you. There's so many options out there. You just have to discuss them.
Makes sense. So, Greta, I do want to be respectful of your time. I know you're a busy lady. So, is there anything that you would like to talk to our viewers about that we've not talked about just yet? A million things, anything that's very, very important that you want to tell them before we...
Well, my biggest point, honestly, is hire that immigration attorney. Don't do this by yourself. Fees, for example, you're thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, well, I'm already paying USCIS $1,000. Now I have to find an attorney and I have to pay them $1,000. Well, here's kind of how my fees work out. So say I charge, this is just, every case is different, right? I'm not going to promise you that this is what I charge for your particular case, but say I charge $2,000 to bring a family member over, either your spouse, your fiance, your brother, your sister, what have you. I charge $2,000 for that. So the way I do is I split up the fees. So you don't owe me $2,000 flat out, right? I don't expect that from you, especially working with immigrants. I understand that money is an issue. Of course, I am an immigrant myself. I see how my dad is. I see how my mom is. I get it. So I split up the fees. So, you pay a down payment, for example, of $1,000. If you have that, the thing is we work on that together. We sign an agreement. I lay out, we can come to some arrangement on fees and everything. So don't, just because you think it's going to be expensive, don't not call an immigration attorney, because we're here to work with you, because we work with immigrants all day, every day. And so what happens is we understand, we know that money is an issue, especially in our communities. And we also understand that now with USCIS, the prices have gone skyrocket. I think 600% or something like that, which is ridiculous. And then we get it. So now we have to work with our clients to make sure that, we're not risking all of their money and then not guarantee. We can't guarantee. That's another thing. The guaranteeing. We can never guarantee that your application or that your adjustment of status will be approved. That is not something any immigration attorney can guarantee. And if they guarantee that, again, I think you should probably call a different immigration attorney. One, because we're not USCIS. We can do everything right on our part. We can submit every document, every letter, everything that they need, and they could still find something wrong with it. At the end of the day, it comes down to that officer that gets your case, right? They can find anything wrong with your case and they can deny it right there and then. I can't guarantee that you will get a benefit, but you're more likely to get a benefit by hiring an immigration attorney.
The way I like to explain it to clients is like, if I guaranteed you something, how it's going to go down with the ICE, ICE or immigration or in court, that would imply that I am in cahoots with either the prosecutor, the opposing counsel, or the judge. And if anybody guarantees you that, something fishy going on.
There's no way, because one, we're working with millions of USCIS officers. We don't know which officer you're gonna get. We don't know where.
But as Greta said the other day when we talked, but she can pretty much tell, if you come in, you've been in the United States for 20 years, no criminal history, you've had a job for a while, everything is crystal clear. The chances are up there, but we can't guarantee 100%. We can tell you like 99% your chances of getting naturalized, unless there's something you're not telling us. So yes, while we cannot guarantee, we can give you a pretty good percentage-based chance of what.
But you have to be honest. You have to tell your immigration attorney everything. Listen, you might think to yourself, I'm from the small town or country town, actually, in a country in the middle of nowhere in the world. And you're thinking, there's no way they're going to find out that I did this crime 20 years ago or whatever. You forget that there's this thing called Interpol. There's this thing called, like the U.S. embassies located everywhere in the world. All it takes is one phone call. All it takes is one phone call to Interpol. All it takes is one phone call to the local police department there to find anything. And that's the thing. If you did commit a crime in the country where you were born and the crime was expunged or removed from your record, you still disclose it. Disclose that to your immigration attorney, because they have to know that. Because one, you have to disclose it either way, no matter if it's been expunged, no matter if you think to yourself, oh, my attorney took care of that. There's no way it's on my record anymore. That is one of the biggest issues we face as immigration attorneys, is when people don't tell us that they've committed this crime. Because they thought, oh, well, my attorney took care of that. That's already gone. And this includes speeding tickets, guys. I'm telling you, speeding tickets. Just because you went to Nadim over here and you got it taken care of doesn't mean that you're good to go with immigration. You have to check boxes on your applications that specifically ask you whether you've been cited or not. And this includes whether you've, had it taken care of. It's any time you've been cited for any reason. So just remember this. Just because you hired an attorney and you did the right thing by hiring an attorney doesn't mean you're in the clear with immigration.
Yep. And that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So let's assume somebody wants to get a hold of you. And I will put all of your contact information in the feeds, because I think with this great new gadget that I've got, it's going like live to Facebook and everything.
Yeah.
But how do people get a hold of you? And I know you said, your Facebook, LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But what's a good phone number?
So my phone number is 314-939-0082. That is my office phone number, but I will give you my personal phone number as well. So that is 314-809-9061. On that number, both numbers, actually, you can text me. My email, if you choose to email me, is greta@morinaimmigration.com. Like I said, I'm quick on responding to Facebook message requests. I'm quick with email. I'm quick with LinkedIn if you want to get on LinkedIn with me. And then, of course, text messaging all day, every day. So
Yep.
whichever
Same here.
way.
Same here. And
Yeah.
I don't know if it's good or bad to be like that, but I
But-
am very responsive to all of those as well.
Yeah,
So
it's
if
just-
anybody needs any help, if you've got any legal questions, don't hesitate
Well, like
to
I
reach
said,
out
being
to
an
us.
immigration attorney, if
Yeah.
someone gets arrested on the street,
It makes sense. You kind of
at
got
2
to
o'clock
jump
in
in.
the morning, you gotta jump in. So, but yeah, I'm available at any time, and then you could schedule a consultation with me depending on your case. If it's a quick, smooth case, then we could just get started right away. If it's a more complex case, then we're gonna have to discuss, fees and all that stuff beforehand. But other than that, you can reach out to me at any time with any questions, and you can lay out all of your situation in the email, the text message, whatever, and then I'll give you a call after I've reviewed it, and I can tell you, how to move forward.
Sounds great. Well, as I said, Greta, I do want to be
Yes.
respectful of your time. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
being
for
with
having
us
me.
here today. And
Yes.
if you guys, as I said, if you have any question, don't hesitate to reach out to
Yeah.
us. Thank you very much for being with us. Stay safe. Have a wonderful rest of the
Yeah.
week, and see you next year.
Yeah. Yeah.
See you guys later.
Bye.